Hi. Um, so I'm thinking about and reflecting on today an experience I had last evening. This is the 13th of May. This is my vlog of my personal reflections. Um, I want to speak about intense feeling of frustration that I had yesterday evening. I came back from work around 5:30, and then I said I'm going to do some dabbling with my 3D printer, right? So 3D printing, 3D modeling is something I've been kind of playing around with for the last 6 months now, and it's like a hobby. Now, before firstly, let me give you one more context is that in the last few weeks I have been questioning my hobbies. Okay, I put a fair amount of time into my hobbies, and it's a source of fun. It's a source of relaxation, almost meditation for me, a source of zoning out. Okay, but hobbies can also be frustrating because when you want to do something, like for example, yesterday my daughter Misha has got a brand new set of 72 color pencils that my cousin Shefali gifted her. And she sat down in the morning and said that I'm going to paint something. And then she started looking for something to paint and she couldn't find. And she looked, half an hour she kept on looking. And then she broke down in tears. She was crying like crazy. And there was no way to console her. It took her 2 hours to recover from that. Right? She got frustrated because she didn't know what to do. So hobbies can also be frustrating. So I've been questioning my hobbies, and so art, 3D printing, 3D modeling, electronics, and music. These are my hobbies. And I've been questioning that they take up a substantial amount of time and energy from me. Of course, they give me something also, but also should I just cut down to one hobby and should I focus on one thing so I get good? Because you also want to get good, right? You also want to have a body of work. So this is a thought process that's going on in my mind, and I'll have a separate reflection on this. But so yesterday I came back and I wanted to do some work with my 3D printer. And la- uh, before I went to Singapore, I've been trying to convert my 3D printer into a 2D plotter. Okay, and I had just managed to figure out the program and figure out how to convert, you know, an image, a drawing into a 2D drawing and fix a pen on my 3D printer that plots a drawing. Right, I figured out the basics of it, and I said that okay, now let me try and do this and improve that. And but I sat for 1 hour and then I started researching on a better way to do it. Okay, finding a different program that will help me to do it more conveniently. And I watched 2 3 YouTube videos. I read some articles. I didn't find. Then I got spent another one spending 2 hours, and I felt really frustrated by the end of it. I felt that my God, I came home at 5:30. I could have done so many things. I could have just chilled out. I could have done some work. I could have gone for done some exercise. But I've spent this 2 hours, and I'm feeling that I got nothing at the end of two hours. It just got frustration, and I've done a lot of research, uh, and that kind of really switched off my mood for the entire evening. Um, then my wife Aarti suggested that she could see that something was wrong and I wasn't in the right headspace, and so she suggested that I do some exercise, and which is something I decided to do every day. But I was really resisting it. I was so feeling so heavy. But then she just kind of told me, okay, just do 100 squats and do 60 some push-ups. So I just got up, pushed myself, and did that, and that changed my frame of mind. And then while I was doing that exercise, and then I went for a shower, a thought came to me, which kind of resolved some of this frustration. And that is, the thought came that, look, for me, one of the decisions I've taken is to create content, to be a content creator, and to put my thoughts, my ideas, and my feelings and my discoveries out there. And I realized that, how about if I could use even my hobbies to contribute to meaningful content that I create with a single theme, right? So I realized that, what if I could, I don't have to spend, I don't have to keep researching and innovating new things constantly even with 3D printing. Okay, what if I could get one workflow right? What if I could just learn how to take, let's say, a quote, um, you know, a thought or a quote or a word, and figure out how a workflow to convert that thought into a drawing, and then that into the 3D printer code, and then set up the printer and then print that and make a time lapse recording of that, and that becomes also then my content for that day, right? So now, if I've done even 6 hours or 10 hours of research to get that workflow right, but then I freeze that workflow, and then I can keep doing that workflow again and again, maybe for another month or 2 months, right? So then it becomes efficient. Then I have a system going. And then it becomes meaningful. And then suddenly those 2 hours didn't feel like a waste anymore. And I said that before I sleep, I'm going to try and get this workflow right, which I did. And that's what I'm reflecting on this morning, that some of us have this tendency, and I know I have to constantly innovate, to constantly create something new. But we need to balance that with, one is innovation or building new productive capacity in Stephen Covey's words, and one is using that productive capacity, production, right? So we need to balance that with enough production. So if I can now create a workflow and smoothen that, and within an hour I can go from idea to output, which is my final video, right? Then it's great, and then maybe I can even streamline this workflow more, and then I can have somebody else do it, right? And then this is in place. And similarly, if I can have a couple of different workflows running, right, which end up with one objective that gives me content, uh, with the theme that I'm working on. So it fulfills my desire for my hobby, it fulfills my desire for my content, it becomes efficient, and then maybe after 2 months I can innovate and come up with a new workflow. And that gave me a sense of resolution and peace, and also made me realize that even in the work that we do, in the businesses that we run, and I have this tendency to keep innovating a lot, which is beautiful, but I need to also balance that by creating some workflows and then running those workflows. uh, yeah, so that's what I wanted to reflect on today.